Chapter 2. Rose didn't have time to open the book on the bus. Her friend Ben had saved her a seat next to him, and he had a lot to tell her about his dog Jess and her 12 puppies. When they got to school, Rose and Ben walked through the playground together. Zack Smith was pushing Yusuf Malik against the railings. "Give me those crisps or I'll thump you," he shouted. Yusuf handed over his crisps. He looked as if he was going to cry. Ben said, "I wish we could do something about Zack." "Me too," said Rose. She told Ben about Uncle Winnie. "My uncle says bullies are always scared of something. And I thought that maybe Zack was scared of Reddy. He never goes near the cage." "Hey, I think you're right," said Ben. They reached the classroom and found that Lauren had taken Reddy out of his cage. The white rat was sitting on her shoulder and some of the other children were stroking him. Zack came in and Rose noticed that he didn't walk past Lauren and the rat. He went right round to the other side of the classroom and then came back to his seat. Zack shared a table with Rose, Ben and Lauren. He gave Rose a nasty look and said, "Have you read your book then?" "Yes," said Rose. She felt in her bag. Where was the blue book? There it was, under her trainers. While Rose was trying to tug the book out of her bag, Mrs. Feather, the teacher, came in. She told Lauren to put Reddy back in his cage and go to her place. Rose had just put the blue book on the table when Mrs. Feather said, "Rose Ritchie, I want you to go first today. Tell us what your book is about." Everyone looked at Rose. She opened her blue book. There was nothing there. Nothing. No words. No pictures. Absolutely nothing. She turned the pages. They were all blank. Everyone. Blank. Rose stared at the empty pages. Her mouth dropped open. She mumbled. "Stand up, Rose. We can't hear you," said Mrs. Feather. Rose stood up. She felt very hot. She knew her face must be crimson. "Well, we are waiting." Mrs. Feather drummed her long nails on her desk. "Come on, Rose." Zack leaned towards the blue book and Rose quickly picked it up. She didn't want him to see the blank pages. At that moment, she noticed Reddy standing on his hind legs, and looking at her with his red eyes. "It's about Red," said Rose. "Yes, go on. Tell us some more," said Mrs. Feather. Well, Rose didn't know what to say next. Uncle Winnie said he'd learn a trick, but perhaps the trick was on her. "Rose hasn't read a book she can't read," sang Zack. "I can," cried Rose. "It's just difficult to explain." "Be quiet, Zack," said Mrs. Feather. "Let Rose think." Rose thought. What had Uncle Winnie said? The book was about things you couldn't see. Invisible things. Suddenly, Rose knew what to say. The story is about a rat that is invisible. His name is Winnie, and he is a very fierce rat. One day, he gets out of his cage. The class was very quiet. They were all looking at Rose. Zack had a scared expression on his face. Rose told a story about a rat that had been made invisible by a wizard. The rat escaped from his cage and climbed into a boy's pocket. When the boy put his hand into his pocket, the rat chewed off his finger. Zack frowned and looked at his fingers. And then Invisible Winnie jumped out of the boy's pocket and ran into the woods where he had many strange and wonderful adventures, said Rose. Did he take the boy's finger with him? Asked Ben. Rose glanced at Zack. He had gone very white.